There we go. Thank you, Mrs. Okay, so Cassie, welcome to everyone. Lovely to see you all come and join us on this Thursday evening. I also have to remember what day it is. My name's Kim Macleod from Indie Authors World, and this is the book launch for this wonderful book, The Power of Positive Connections, and this fabulous woman who's joined me tonight, Liz Hoskin. So thank you for coming along, Liz.
I like the word fabulous.
Fabulous, yes, you're absolutely fabulous, and absolutely fabulous. There we are. We could be a duel. Don't know which one I'd be. So we're going to talk a bit about this book and celebrate your achievement, because that's the first thing. So congratulations. It's how does it feel now to be a published author?
It's one of these things that I thought would never ever happen. Because I think it's one of the things that you kind of avoid.
Yeah.
But you've got a story to tell about that, so I'm happy for you to share if you want to share.
So what we're going to do, we're going to have hopefully a nice chat. We're going to talk about some of the stories in the book. We're going to share some inspiration from Liz and the stories that are here, these inspirational stories to lift your soul. So hopefully everybody will leave kind of feeling happier tonight. If you've got a question yourself, then you can pop it into the chat box. We hopefully might actually be able to have time to sort of unmute yourselves later on and ask even a few questions, so that we get a little bit of energy going from that as well. Because it's always lovely, isn't it, when you can actually hear somebody's voice. So just before we start, I wanted to kind of just say a little bit about Liz, for those of you who don't know her. I know that a lot of people here have met you already and are friends and connections of yours, but I would say that this woman has got to be one of the most positive, loving, kind-hearted, just full of energy people that I know. And I met Liz many, many years ago. I mean, way before we even talked about the book, and I'll share that bit in a minute, but we met at a personal development night, I suppose, is what you would say. And it was I was there as just to support a friend who was kind of talking that night, and I met Liz at that event in Glasgow, and we just clicked right away and started chatting and had such a lovely night. And I just said to her before she came in that I remember the words that she said to me that night, and I don't know if you do, Liz, but I'm going to tell everybody that, because it really stuck with me, that because we had such a great connection, you had said that I think I came here tonight to meet you. And that is just such a wonder when somebody says that to you. And I'm sure that there's probably a few others here that you might have said the same thing to, because it's when you have that really kind of strong connection that you just kind of go, oh wow, that's just something. And I think that is just you. That's that power of positivity.
I think for me, that's it. When I meet people, because even yesterday I was going for a massage, and I was asking about, the place I normally go was closed, so needed a massage, just had to have a massage, that was it. And this girl had phoned me and said, well, I can't do it, I'm fully booked, I'll give you this other person. And I went, oh no, I've looked at her picture and I couldn't go to her. And she went, but I'm recommending her to you. And I went, no, I've looked at her picture and no, I couldn't go. And she burst out laughing and she went, okay, well, I've got someone else. I think this might be better then. Are you into like personal development? Are you into that kind of stuff? And she also said woo-woo, which I'm into as well. And I said, yeah, I am. And she said, well, you need to go here. So anyway, she said to me, but I don't think she'll have an appointment. I went, no, she will. The universe always delivers for me. And she phoned me straight back and she said, yeah, I can take you at 5 o'clock. So it was the right person at the right time. And that's my story. I seem to be in the place at the right time. More and that's to be told in a minute.
Yep, and that's it. That's more to be told, exactly. So we want to just, we're going to hear more about Liz and her all her stories, her career, her history, all the things, all the wonderful things that she does. But Liz also came on the very first sort of training event that my husband Sinclair and I ran to help people to self-publish their books. And that was over 10 years ago. We were in it in the Grand Central Hotel in the train station in Glasgow. And I remember you being there. We had a whole host of people in that room, and Liz was there because she wanted to publish this book. It took a little longer, perhaps, than we anticipated. It's been 10 years in the making, and probably a bit more besides, but we're at least here with us. So
yeah, I think when you decide you want to write a book, that's one thing, and then you can start writing it. So that's the next stage. And then what I did was I wrote most of it, and I sent a little synopsis away to a couple of publishing houses. And I always remember desperately wanting the envelopes to come. Mm. And I got 2 envelopes back, and both of them said, "I'm really sorry." And they say things like, unfortunately, at the start of a sentence, it's going to be bad news, isn't it? And they just said, "We've had too many books like yours, so we will not be publishing it this time. But please, don't hesitate to contact us," which is another double negative, which really means never contact us again. And that just took me for 6. And I thought, I know I read all these books in personal development, and they tell you need to go around 30 publishers to get it. And I just couldn't be bothered going around 30 publishers. Mm-hmm. So I thought, right, I'll put it aside, and one day I will get the call. Never got a call, but what it was during COVID. So during lockdown, I decided I'm someone who likes to do stuff and help people. Sitting down and not doing too much is not me. And it's not that I like to be busy to be busy for busy's sake. I kind of like to be busy to help people. And I sat down and I thought, right, there's 3 things I want to do during COVID. One is write a book. The other one is to set up a learning portal for my company. And the third one was to have courage to actually let the book go into the world, almost like give birth. Yeah. Because when you're putting your words out there to other people, and you might not know them, there's so many emotions go through your body. And I had the whole kind of my mother's voice in my head saying, people from Falkirk do not write books. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe. And then also thinking, wait a minute, who am I to write a book? Who do I think I am? Mm-hmm. And then I've got a voice that comes in and says, well, you're good at this and go and do it. But then I would have a little fight with that voice. And then I was kind of almost ashamed to put a book out, just in case it was totally worthless. And then all of a sudden, last November, and my life is like this. I have this divine moment in the morning, and I phoned Kim up and said, right, I'm ready. I'm doing it. And she went, are you serious this time? And I was like, yes, I'm serious. And we started on the journey. But then I took a heart attack about 4 weeks later.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, it was not a serious heart attack because I am still here. But I took a heart attack, and the heart attack, it was funny because it then gave us a secret to why I've been having issues, not with the book, but with my health. And it was because when it gets really, really cold, I have very low blood pressure, and it's the low blood pressure and the cold that ends up giving me a heart attack. Now, we would never have found that out if that hadn't happened. So Kim and I then, we said, right, we'll put it on hold for a wee while. But a wee while went into another 2 or 3 months. Then I was going to America, and it was like, oh, what is going on? So eventually we went, right, ready now, let's get it done. And really, we did it pretty okay.
Yeah,
it was just like
here we are. Here's the proof. Yeah. Here's the proof. It's actually here.
And then we spent ages on the cover.
Yep.
Because I'm a great heart-led person, and my title for my business. So in my business, I am the MD, but I don't get called the MD. I'm called the Chief Radiator. So for people who don't know me, I am a Chief Radiator. And of course, Alice is here from Can Do Ventures, and Alice sent me the most amazing bookie this morning, and it said on the card, the first chief radiator to be published. And I just thought, that is just wonderful, because a chief radiator gives off lots of positive energy and positivity, love, all that good stuff. And as a business, we give people orange hearts. So when we do anything with people in business, we give them a little orange heart. And it's me giving me a piece of my heart to them, but we also give them a couple of other hearts that they can share with other people. So the cover was so important. But you know, Kim and Sinclair from Indie Authors World worked with me, even although I was a pain in the butt. He worked with me till eventually we got the cover, and we had the phone call, and Kim said, look, we've nailed it. We've absolutely nailed it. And when she brought the cover out, I went, oh my God, you totally have. That is the cover I've had in my head for all this time. And it came into fruition.
Yeah. Now, if only we could just invent a little something that we could actually see inside everybody's heads, we could speed up this whole process a million times, you know, because it's that communication thing, isn't it? About trying to say what it is that you've got in your, and we're looking at stuff, and yeah, but it is, and I think everybody will agree, it is. I mean, it's because we got back to the simplicity of it as well. That was the other thing. It had to just kind of like come back to something, but it has got a wonderful energy of itself. I think that's the beauty of it. So I want to read the blurb for anybody who actually doesn't know yet about what's actually in this book, and we're going to talk a little bit about the stories. So this says, are you unsure how to approach people in new situations? Is this fear leading to missed opportunities? The power of positive connections is an essential guide to encourage you to embrace those opportunities you would have previously missed and inspire a new, fulfilling way of life. This collection of true short stories is full of easy-to-follow techniques which are proven to have a positive impact on the way that you look at life, view yourself and others. Be inspired by how Liz Hoskin's interactions in everyday situations created opportunities to make a difference in the world. From teachers to parents and taxi drivers to hotel managers and beyond, learn how to grow meaningful connections with others and see the magic unfold in your life. What's not to love about that, Liz? Isn't it? It's just perfect, absolutely perfect. So, can we start a little bit then about how did these positive connections and this I mean, I know that it's definitely a way of your being, but how did you start to recognize it as something that was happening to you all the time? Where did it first start?
So it kind of started when I started my business. I started my business away sort of 2000, and when we bought this house that we're still in, I always said, I'm buying this house because we're going to travel. Now, at the time, my job was based in Glasgow. I wasn't going anywhere, but I started travelling. And although I liked travelling, I found it a chore because the planes were late, the trains were late. Everything always seemed to go wrong to a certain extent. And it was lonely because I was on my own, travelling all over, delivering training and coming back and going a lonely hotel room at night. And then one night I was sitting in my hotel room and this voice came into my head, and in the voice just said, you know, I was feeling sorry for, I was having a wee pity party. I don't know if you've ever had a pity party in a hotel on your own, but I was in a hotel and I was just sitting going, oh, you know, and I want more out of this. I really want more. And I'm having this conversation when this voice in my head said, well, do something about it. Change your perspective. Change your perspective. What do you want? And I was like, oh, God, I don't really know what I want. And I started having this little conversation to myself. And I decided, right, so the power of a positive connection, what would that be? What would that be to make me enjoy being on my own in a strange city, in a strange plane, in a strange airport or whatever? And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, I need to set myself up for the day. I need to get myself organised that I'm going to have a good day. And I know it sounds really simple, but I'm Scottish. Most people here might be Scottish. Some people are English. Some people are from further afield. But, you know, Scottish people sometimes struggle with that. We setting yourself up to have a good day, you think. And I'm from a very negative family. So there is no way my family would have set me up to do this. But in my head, I kept hearing, the power of intention, the power of intention. So I decided I would set my intention. So the whole power behind the power of positive connections is intention. By setting my intention before I set off my journey, I used to get goosebumps up my arms, and I still do. But at the start, it was, I don't know, it was one of these kind of magical things that would happen. And then I would turn up at an airport. And even if I got if the plane was delayed, what would happen was I'd have exactly the book that I needed to read with me. And then it became so exciting because I could read a few chapters, or I got fog bound one day, go down to Southampton, and we had 5 hours, we were delayed, and I nearly finished the whole book. But I was sitting in the airport so excited about this book and not thinking about the actual journey that I was missing or anything that was happening. I just decided I would let it go. But then I dug into it a little bit deeper. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Albert Ellis. Now, Dr. Albert Ellis has now passed, which is so sad. But he has this whole theory about change. And he says, when a change comes upon you, or you feel there's something triggers you that makes you want to make a change, you need to think about, there's 3 kinds of things you can do. So you can either accept the change and stop moaning, well, that was never going to happen. Or you can change the way you feel about it. Or you could just walk away from it. But that kept ringing in my head. And by changing the way I felt about it, here comes the next little piece to the puzzle. And it doesn't matter what happens to you that matters. It's how you deal with what happens to you. So for starters, that's how this all began. And I started to have the most amazing journeys. And would just turn up at places. And it always started off a conversation. And it wasn't always me that started, and it isn't always me that starts the conversation. Sometimes I give off this energy that people just want to have a piece of. Mm-hmm. They just want to spend some time with me, and they'll try and attract me. It's so funny. But when I see them trying to attract me, sometimes I play hard to get. And what I mean by that is I don't kind of sort of clock on straight away. I'll maybe wait a few seconds, or sometimes it's minutes, and then eventually I'll say, oh, you're wondering what I'm reading? Or they'll say to me, you look really happy. Why are you happy? And I'll say, oh, I've got a lot to speak about that. So if you've got time, I'm happy to share. And we have a laugh. Or if we get stuck in a plane, a connection can start just by, I got stuck down it was in Heathrow, and we got stuck on the tarmac. And I was sitting beside a businessman. Now, his story's in here. So it's all about Brian's story. And Brian sat, and he wasn't going to speak to a female on her own. That was the first part. I can give you the backstory to the stories. And they brought up dinner for us, and we got a prawn cocktail. Now, I love prawn cocktail. Now, he obviously loved prawn cocktail, because then no words were exchanged, because the prawn cocktail was the biggest thing and the best thing that happened that day. And we're sitting on the flight, and I said to him, I have to tell you, prawn cocktail's my favourite. And he must have thought, who is this woman? And then he said to me, well, it's not a pickup line, but so it's my favourite too. And I said, Brian, don't even worry about that. So what are you travelling for? And we just started chatting. Now, I won't tell you any more of the story, but it was just a brilliant story that went on and on and on and on. But it was one of these kind of magical moments again, that when you just start chatting to someone, he then found out I could give some answers to some of the stuff he was looking for, but then he wanted to keep it going. So the whole answer to Kim's question is, it's the power of intention. So the power in the positive connection piece is the power of intention. And there's another ingredient, and the other ingredient begins with an E. Now, I'm a trainer to trade. I'm not going to apologise, but I make things memorable so you will remember and be able to use them. It's IE. So when you're a trainer, you'll always say IE. Here's that is, or that means, which means that. We always say things like that, but the IE is intention, and the E stands for energy. What kind of energy are you taking with you on your journey to your meeting, to walking the dog, to doing your housework, what kind of energy are you taking to it? Because energy is the key. And I've always had loads of energy, loads of positive energy, but never realized that it was a gift that wasn't just everybody had it. I thought everybody had it till I started to meet some of the drainers, which is a whole other story.
Yeah.
But the whole positive energy piece is huge for me. So if you want to do a positive connection, the power is intention and energy. Think about the energy you take, especially if you're going into a really, what could I say, a difficult meeting or I'm going to tell a bit of a story. I knew this was going to happen. As soon as you start doing it, something comes.
Yeah.
But I had a really difficult thing happen to me in 2015. A life challenge, a health challenge. But when the health challenge came, I did what I always do. I made a joke about it to the doctor. Now, I'd had a health challenge for quite a while. I'd been going back and forward to doctors, and they just kept saying to you, well, you're getting older, you're not getting any younger. It's got to be something to do with a perimenopause or something. And I'm going, it's not that. It's not that. I know there's something happening. But anyway, I had this meeting with this big consultant eventually when I'd knocked enough doors and pushed enough people aside to get something. And he sat me down and he said, right, well, if you don't get operated on in the next 4 weeks, you might not be here to tell your story. And I joked and I said to him, oh, I'm really busy. I mean, the next 4 weeks, my diary's absolutely chocker. And he stood up and he slammed on the table and said, are you listening to me, woman? You might die in the next 4 weeks if you don't get this operation. And I just sat there and I didn't know what to say to him. But what I did was I decided, right, okay, you've given me this news, but I need to go away and just get myself together because I'm going to come back because I'm going to have some questions for you. And he went, I'm a busy consultant. And I went, well, you've just told me something that I was not prepared for. So please do me the courtesy and give me half an hour to get my thoughts together and I'm coming back. And I went away and I thought, right, this is the power of positive connection. I need that man to explain everything to me so I understand it so that I can do the best thing for me. And that's what I did. I went away and I sat and I cried. It's naturally pretty life-changing. I sat and I cried, but as I'm crying, I always carry little notebooks. I always have little notebooks in my bag, all different sizes, always. And I sat down and I wrote down, okay, so what do I need to know? And I did a little plan. And that's what I do when I'm doing a connection. I did a little plan. And then I said to the woman, the consultant secretary, who'd been lovely, and she went, it's okay, he's still here. In you go. And she went in, she's here. Because she was rooting for me because I'd chatted to her a little bit about things. And that's what you do. You get people to advocate on your behalf. So when I went back in, he was quite taken aback and I said to him, here's my questions. And we went through it all and he said to me, right, okay, I can give you some tablets. It might shrink what's happening to you, but 50-50, it might not be effective. And I said, right, I'm going to ask you, do you think it will be effective? And he really didn't know what to do with me because he couldn't lie because he didn't really believe in them because that's what I felt. And I said, right, okay, well, I'll throw them into the mix. We'll see. But anyway, I took those tablets all the time. And anybody that knows me, I don't like tablets. But see if there was a 50% chance those tablets would help you, I'm taking them. And I'm not a tablet person. Anyway, long story short, did all of that. And then I did my research. I went to all the forums where people had what I had and found out what you do. And I chatted to women, chatted to people all about it and how did they cope with it? What did they do? And I built myself this plan. And it was how to avoid stress in a very stressful situation. And that's what positive connections are all about. I got myself into the zone and I went through the operation. Everything was absolutely fine. I walked out the other side, not even realising I'd had it. Not walked out, but I was lying on the trolley and I said to not the consultant, because he didn't show up that day. He got stuck on the Forth Road Bridge because there was a big accident. And I got his assistant, who was the most wonderful woman, who really understood how I was feeling and where I was coming from. And she had been rooting for me because I'd made a connection with her. Because of that connection, she came bounding in that day after just after we got into the ward, and she went, Liz, it's stuck on the Forth Road Bridge. You're never going to believe this. So you've got me today, and I know exactly what you need me to do, and I will do everything to help you. And I felt so relaxed going in for the operation that when I came to, I thought I hadn't been in. Because I didn't feel anything, and I felt great. And I said to her, so how much longer do I need to wait? And she went, Liz, you didn't even need to be on the table for 7 hours. You were only on the table for 3.5. And everything looks cool, but we need to send everything away to pathology. But it looks great, so you'll be fine. And I believed her. And I was fine. And that's another reason why the book was important.
Yeah.
I just had to tell you that, because that just came in and I felt it was going to help someone sitting here.
Someone has to hear that story.
Yes.
Someone else had to hear that story.
That's another thing about it. You need to share.
Yeah. And I think this is, for me, the power of what you've put in the book is it's full of the stories. It's full of little stories that are easy to read. It's one of those things you can actually pick up this book. You could just be feeling a bit down that day, and you could just open it and you start to read a little bit about Chris and the multiple connections and following your dreams, and what happens in there. And then you could flip it open and you could think about Rona and making the effort, and what about making a difference, and what does that actually mean? And all of the stories have got an energy of their own. And it just reaffirms exactly what you're like, Liz, that thing like you said. So you're either, I think the thing is, for me, and knowing you as I have done for such a long time, you go out of your way to help people, also connect them to other people that can help them. You are an absolute connector. I mean, one of the world's great connectors. If I'm ever looking for somebody and I think I need to help with something, if I don't know somebody, I'll phone Liz, because I know that Liz will be able to help me, put me in touch with somebody else, or she'll just have some ideas. And that's one of the themes for me that really sort of comes through this book, that you have those conversations not to get something from somebody. But you start having that conversation before you know it. I could hear your voice as I was working through the book and reading it. How can I help you? What is it that you want? What is it you're needing? How can I help you? And there are so many stories in there about how you've helped people. But I wondered if you would maybe like to read us one.
Yes, I've got one in mind.
Great. And I think it's always good if we can actually hear, from one of these stories.
So story 16, but we call them connections. They're all numbers. So connection number 16 is about Alan. And Alan's, so I can tell you a bit of the backstory as well, but I'll read a bit of this. So Alan's one of my French connections. Now, one of my goals, one of my dreams is always to work in Paris. I don't know, there's something about the French people that is just so chic, and they always look amazing. And they always eat the most fattening stuff, but they always look amazing. And it's one of these kind of things. So Alan it's one of those times when you see a stranger looking lost, and how you should always hold out the hand of friendship, as you may never know where this might take you. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of it because we think, maybe they won't take to this very kindly, but sometimes you just have to go with your intuition. Everything will work out fine. So I met Alan from Paris when I was in Dublin, and here's how we connected. At the end of my training day, Alan was at reception in the company I was working with, waiting for a taxi that was never going to arrive. It seemed, at least to him. Me being me as usual, I went over to speak to him to see if I could help in any way, because he just looked so lost and forlorn. He was so pleased to see me and quickly told me his plight. I suggested that he share my taxi, my hotel, as his hotel was in the same vicinity as mine. He accepted immediately, and so our connection began. The desire to communicate was strong. Now, my schoolgirl French came to the fore, and our word mix-ups were hilarious as we shared stories about our respective families. He explained he was the father of 5 children. Now, I'll add a bit, all under 5, I might add. Well, I'm the mother of 2, and during our 90-minute journey, Alan wanted to know what I did for a living that took me away from home. When I explained that I trained people to use positive language in business, he was all ears, as he's a telephone a telemarketing manager for a company in Paris. We were off and running. He wanted to find out everything and to understand as much as he could, as this was his particular area of interest. Yet he had never heard about the business application of positive language. We chatted at length and he requested my business card because he said I spoke with such passion. He asked if I'd be willing to work in France if he wished to pursue this further. Now, Scottish people, you know, if anyone says that, we always say, now, are you real? Is this true? Will you actually take me to Paris, or will you let me come to Paris? I replied, why do you think I'm giving you? I replied to him and he said, why do you think I'm giving you my business card? I've always wanted to work in Paris. That was my line. Because I don't know, there was something about it. As it was around Christmas time, we continued talking about families in the festive season. He wanted to take presents back for his wife and children and asked me to recommend some shops. I was happy to give him some suggestions and arrange for the driver to take him there. However, Alain didn't want a conversation to end, as he had much more he wanted to find out, so he asked if I would accompany him to the shops. But I had to decline as I needed to finish packing before flying home. But he hoped we would meet again and said bon voyage. Now, then it just goes. After I do a connection, I don't really think about it too much after it. I just pop a card in my purse and it might find its way onto a database sometimes. Other times it just stays in my purse and I'll look at it and go, oh, that was really good. I don't really do too much with it. But anyway, 3 weeks later, not 3 weeks later, but 3 months later, I received a phone call from the company he worked with, asking me to run the training programme, first in London and then in Paris. Now, naturally, I accepted. Wouldn't you? A month later, I met Alain again, this time in Paris, and without question, I'd made a strong positive connection because our conversation continued exactly where we left off in Dublin. There are no boundaries in positive connections. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about getting goosebumps up my arm. So that's a really good sign. So that's a sign if a connection works out, and it's a sign if the energy's right.
Yeah, yeah. But that's just, you know, one story, one example of, there you are, you start to, you know, you just meet these so-called random meetings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. So there we go. Random. There's no such thing as no such thing. Everything. You know, we're bound to meet people, but some people would not take that chance.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I suppose even, you know, I'd be interested, the people who are actually on the call just now, you know, if you can answer, you write in the chat, in the answer in the chat box, if you met someone who asked you to share a taxi with them because you were going in the same direction, how many of you would actually say yes, and how many of you would actually say no? It'd be interesting to see what is the yeah, they're going to meet the taxi since meeting you. That's probably yes. I would say yes. Okay. I'll see what the because it's those sliding door moments as well, isn't it? Yeah, depends on what my instincts were. Yeah, probably. Yeah, and I think that's the thing as well, that, you know, if you've got the vibe that the energy's not good, you know, please don't go putting yourself in danger just getting any random cars with people, because I've been on this call with Liz and she said, yeah, just do it, you know. But
as a public service announcement, please don't jump into a taxi with any stranger. Make sure there's some sort of, I think it's about compassion. People sometimes ask me, what is it about you that makes you get on with so many different types of people? And the word for me is compassion. Because the compassion, if a connection starts from the heart and you feel it, it's so palpable, you can actually feel it. And for me, the whole connection piece with Alain was, he just looked so downtrodden. He had been waiting there for over 40 minutes. He was French and his English wasn't brilliant. And he was just feeling so sorry for himself. And, you know, you sit and you go, now, you take the chance. Now, he was in a really nice building, because I was working in a very nice building. I was working for an American company at the time. And it was definitely the intuition piece.
Yeah.
Because he said to me after we had a chat, we actually went for lunch when I was working in Paris with him, and he said to me, you know, you were like a little angel that day, because I was so sad because it was getting near Christmas and I wanted to get my kids presents. And outbound, he says, honestly, you just came into the picture. He says, you're like a wee ball of light. And all of a sudden I felt lifted.
Mhm.
And I went, oh, that's really nice. And he said, no, he says, I was lifted because you wanted to understand what was wrong and you wanted to help. And I really felt that. And I said, well, thanks for that. I'm really glad. And, you know, we chatted so much so I ended up working, probably doing a good 2 years and a bit different contracts because he would recommend me onto something else.
Yeah.
And I never ever asked him to do that. He just did it. I'm one of these kind of people that I kind of believe that everything always works out for me.
Yeah.
You know,
So
and it's
intention, energy.
yeah, it's
Here
all
we are
about
again.
intention, honestly. And my mantra is everything's always working out for me. And even although it can seem grim and it can seem horrible at the time, that's what I hold on to. And then within 24 hours, sometimes situations can turn around.
Yeah.
I've got so many stories on that. It's crazy. It's because you have this kind of, I suppose, a bit of a belief. There's a cracking story in here. You buy the book. You want to read Joe's story. Now, what number is Joe? I'm not going to read it. So I wouldn't spoil it.
Yeah.
Connection number 21. Lucky 21. But Joe's story is one of those stories, and it's a way on a completely different realm. Yeah. And it was all intuition and feeling that I was being guided to help him. And I 100% felt that was the reason why I was in his taxi.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But it's a good...
And that's so in the chat, looking at the answers, most people have said yes if they felt the vibe or the energy. So people are on the call tonight as well are obviously aware of that intuition, that energy feeling. And sometimes it's, you know, you just get that sense of, oh, how is that person or what's coming on? How are they feeling? And if you can see and you can step in, you know, like I said, always be safe, but you can step in to help somebody. So it's not, you know, that
I would never do anything to put me in danger or the other person in danger because I would feel something, if that makes sense. I'll also tell you, I have an issue trusting people.
Right. Okay.
Right. One of my things is trust sometimes. And it's because of different things. The whole reason for writing the book too is because of what happened to me in my last corporate job. And I was bullied out of my job, but I really had a real issue trusting people. But then I had to get out my own way. And this is another theme for me. The reason why the book never got published, I was writing my own way. I was a blocker completely. Because I thought, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to like it. What have I got to talk about? My mum might be right. All that stuff was going in my head. But see, when you step out of your own way, and the trust is big on that, because I really have to work hard at trust with people because of things that have happened. But when you decide to commit to a course of action, and you do get out your way, oh my God, that's when the magic happens. So although I can say I have issues trusting, I can really trust 100% too. If anybody's sitting out there and they are, concerned about trusting people, you need to just delve more into yourself, because the only person holding you back from achieving anything is you. Yeah. The only person stopping you from getting to where you want to be is you. And I teach that and I preach that, but I was just as much in my own way as anybody else is. And see this, since I've stepped out of my own way, it's this lighter feeling that's came in. And that's, for me, it's a huge thing. Yeah. Massively. I don't have such, I don't know. I just don't probably listen to myself as much now.
And you and I were having a chat just before we came on earlier, just about how, I mean, the past few years have been tough for lots of people. And even when we know all this stuff, and we've had some, that we understand the powers that we've got, the energy we can change and everything else that we can do, it's that we can forget, so we can forget what we're doing or where we're going. And we can also get out of habit. and fall into sort of like, difficult habits of stuff. So so that's something that I think, coming back to just reading, I think that's the thing about coming back and reading the stories that you've created, help kind of put you back into that frame of mind and help remind you about all the good stuff that you have done in the past, because we kind of lose track of that over time. And have you found that yourself, even, and over the last few years, because it's there's less opportunity to actually to be out and connect with anybody? For a long time, Zoom was the only way that we were connecting.
I would say the whole Zoom thing. So again, Zoom was like my traveling. It became so cold, and you weren't making the connections and things. And I had to give myself a talking to about that and put my intention out there for Zoom to work and do that to change that, because I am a face-to-face. I'm a telephone person. Do you know, if you want to connect with me, don't email me. Phone me, definitely. If you email me, no. It'll take me ages to get back to you, because I really don't like email. I like this kind of whole way of having a two-way conversation. But during lockdown, it was one of these things. I thought, I'm going to do a podcast. I was going to start 1,000,001 things, and I didn't start any of them because I just didn't have the inclination. It's almost like the whole COVID, especially the first year, 2020, was a year of hibernation and self-reflection, and kind of not going anywhere at any pace at all, and forgetting things that were all almost. I feel like a lot of my habits. One of my habits is in the morning, I used to always get up and have warm water and lemon, and that habit went right out the window. And I only remembered about it yesterday when I went for a massage, because we were just chatting about things that we used to do. Because my masseur from last night was a connection from 2011 that I didn't even know I was going to. It was so funny. But I forgot to do things like that. And also, I'm the most positive person I can be most of the time. But I'm not positive all the time. I can be really. I use a thing. So in my day job, when I'm doing change management, I have a thing that I ask people, and I'll say to them, what are your pop factors? And your pop factors is what turns you into a pissed off person. When in your job and your work and your process and your whatever's happening, what makes you pissed off? And I can upset people by using those words sometimes. But see, if you ask those words, and it doesn't matter what country you're in, you will get real raw stuff. If I ask you what annoys you, I'll get on the surface stuff. See, if I ask you what pisses you off, I will get stuff I can turn around and make into magic. And that was something for me, because 2020 this COVID thing really pissed me off. Because it was like, why? Why is this happening? I like to analyse as well sometimes. I have a touch of ADHD, so I overanalyze at times, and that's my thing. And I really found it quite tiring, the whole thing. And it's when you take charge of it again and then go, right, wait a minute, set your intention. What energy are you bringing to this, Mrs. Hoskin? Stop being an egg, and let's bring some positivity into it. And then it started, I always call it flipping it, flip it. And when I started flipping it, I started getting little results. And see now, Jen will agree with this, we love Zoom, don't we? Zoom is one of our favourites when we're doing training. Whereas if anyone had said I would love doing training on Zoom, I would have said absolutely no way. But see now, it's brilliant for people who are quieter. It's brilliant for people who, when we're training, especially I run academies for young people, and sometimes the behaviours are just red. Being a young person myself once. But the whole young person piece, they can get together and almost gang up in each other. Whereas when we use Zoom, we don't get any of that poor behaviour. And actually we get the real kid. I'm back to thinking about Ricky Ross. Real gone kid. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking songs sometimes as well. I'm going to warn you that. But when you think of, you get the real kid, and that real kid can really shine on Zoom. And that is a special thing about being online. I'm not going to say I would do it all the time, because put me in a room of people and I love it, because you bounce off each other more. But again, put people in a set in Zoom sometimes and you can have the best time. It's about your intention and your energy.
So what about the people who are watching here live tonight that are on the call, or anybody who might watch the, you know, the replay of this? If they want to bring, you know, what I suppose, what are the benefits then? Because we've heard about, obviously you ended up working in Paris, right? You know, there you are, there's one story. But what other benefits have you had just by, you know, reaching out and having those connections that other people could think, oh, well, actually, maybe this is something that it's worth spending time thinking about.
For me, it's so to help yourself, you have to help someone else first. But it's the healing power of doing good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much work you've done on yourself, but I'm going to go back and tell you, I'm from a very negative family. And my family, if you met them, you would never think I was a part of my own family. Because I've worked a lot on myself because I didn't want to be like them.
Yep.
Now they know all of this. It would never be a shock to them. I'm like the cuckoo in the nest, maybe in the family. I'd probably say that. So I'm very positive, and I don't know, but I decided that was a very positive thing for me to do. I decided I would do it. But for me, the whole power of positive connection is you feel lighter. The ripple effect happens. So the ripple effect is you'll go and do something and that will ripple onto something else. So ripple, again, this is something the ripple effect's always been there, but I put words to it because I have to have words and meaning. And for me, ripple's an acronym. So ripple stands for, first R is real. Mm-hmm. The I is intention. The two P's are produces, positive. So real intention produces positive. And the L stands for loving, and the E is energy. When you do something, you never know how that's going to impact people. And it can be so random, you think. But we are all connected somewhere along the line. And sometimes by doing a positive connection, what happens is it ripples out into other people. And before you know, lots of other things start to happen. Now, I never think about that at the outset, but it's amazing. You can meet the most amazing people. It's good for your skin. I'm going to tell you, because you don't frown as much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's really good for your life because it helps your health and well-being 100%, 100%. Because the healing power of doing good, you're actually doing a bit of healing for yourself at the same time. And also, people kind of like your energy. It definitely has an impact on your energy because it doesn't drain you of energy. It actually gives you more energy.
Yeah. I
don't know if you've worked with people or you're in an industry where when you can be with certain people and you just feel zapped or sapped because they take it from you. Having the power of positive connection for me is, it's like this craziness that makes you feel better and makes you feel just more energy. It doesn't deplete you, it actually helps to fulfill you. And it doesn't need to be major things. I mean, some of my connections can be, I always remember going into Tesco. It's not in the book or anything, but one of my kind of random things I do, I like random acts of kindness and making a difference. And I went into Tesco and this woman was absolutely perspiring. I thought she was going to faint, but she was actually at the till serving the customers and she was sweating and she needed a drink. And I said to her, "You need a drink?" And she said, "I know, they'll not let us have one." Just the usual Tesco kind of warmth and good customer service. And I said to her, right, I said, "Well, I'm going to get you a drink. Will your supervisor have an issue?" And she went, "Yes, she will." And I went, "Right, well, that's even better." So I went away and got a bottle. But also while I was there, someone said, "Buy the lottery ticket." So anyway, I went across and no one goes to the tills. They're all at the self-service and I was at the tills. So there was a person in front. So when I got up to the till, I says, "There you go, there's some water." She opened the water and honestly, it's like they have this hearing, the supervisors. She hit the water. It was like, "Alert, alert, someone's breaking the rules," and they ran to the till. The supervisor said, we don't allow this. And I went, "Well, wait a minute, under the Health and Safety at Work Act, don't even try and face me up because I'm going to face you up much more." I said, "This girl's about to pass out. I need to have some water." So anyway, the girl went, "Oh, okay," because I think she realised I wasn't going to let it up. So anyway, the girl got a wee drink of water. And I got the rest of my chocolate and I just said to her, "There you go. See if that wins." And that was all I did. I walked away, forgot all about it. The following Saturday, now this was a Wednesday, following Saturday I'm in Tesco again And I'm walking away, and this woman come up and says, "Would you like a basket?" And I'm thinking, geez, I've all had customers there. I was training. This is wonderful. I was so excited. And she said, "Go across there. Can I help you? Are you looking for anything in particular?" And I'm thinking, what's going on? So the girl that I helped won a tenner. And she told them all the story. And she pointed to me out to them when I came in, and they were all wanting a free lottery ticket, hoping they might win $1 million. And that is the effect of the power of positive connection. People become nicer round about you. Quite good fun.
Perfect story. Thank you so much, Liz. Now, had anybody? We've only got 5 minutes left, and I knew that we could probably have run this for about 3 hours tonight and just kept talking. But we kind of want to let people go and do other things this evening. So, if anybody has got a question that they would like to ask, please, you can put it in the chat, and we'll see if we can actually open up the mics and let somebody speak. But if I've got somebody who want to kind of chat, put some questions in there, it would be great. Whilst we're waiting on that, because it takes people a couple of minutes, where's the best place to people connect with you, Liz? I know that you've got.
I'm on all the social medias naturally.
Yep.
But I'm not that great at Instagram. But Alice Cairns helped me yesterday and gave me a really good thing to put on my story. So thank you very much for that. But no, I'm on Instagram as Positively Liz. What else could I be? I'm on Facebook just as Liz Hoskin.
Yep.
I'm on LinkedIn as Liz Hoskin. I have a company. My company's called Positive Qualities. But you won't. I've got a positive qualities page, but I never do it. I love it. I've just saw a question and I love it. I absolutely love it. This is one of my most favourite questions.
Yep.
So the question is, how would you turn around what may seem a negative connection into a positive one? Any tips? So the first one is kill them with kindness. That's the first thing. But no, don't ever be perturbed, because I was telling my husband a story, and I went to talk at an event, and this guy was really negative, like really negative. Oof, it was coming out. And one negative person can take out 12 positive people, I'm just going to tell you. But I could feel the vibe of this guy. And I hadn't even spoken, hadn't been up on a stage or anything. And someone had pointed me out. And he came across and he went, "And you think you're going to tell me about positivity? Well, I'll tell you about positivity." And I went, "I'm sure you will, but I'm going to tell you a better story." And because I interrupted him, which I don't always do, I interrupted him and he had to take a breath. And I went, "Right, so you're a cynical. Are you a non-believer?" And he looked at me, because now I started asking him questions. And I said, "Are you a non-believer?" And he went, "Aye." "There's no way," he said, "you can make me positive." And I went, "You are totally right, mate. There is no way I could make you positive. But I want to be positive." And I laughed, because that was a flip. Because I said, "There's no way I could make you positive." And all I was alluding to was, no one can make you do, see, feel anything without your permission.
Yep.
And also, you need to want to do it. Or I'd be change management, for goodness sake. It'd be dead easy if I could just wave my magic wand and the world would change, but it's not like that. You need to be in the position. So I would ask them some questions, show an interest, because sometimes the most stuck people have stopped talking to them. When I'm doing my change stuff in work, I love the most negative people, because I know I'll get a really good result from them. I know I will. How I'll do it, I don't know, but I know I will. Something will happen, and it's because people have stopped listening to them, or they just discount them. And I do a thing called Pick Me. And Pick Me is when I get everyone when I'm doing any sort of change thing, I get the whole workforce to vote for people to be part of my change group. And they always give me the most negative people. And they always, and I mean it, no one yet hasn't done this, but they always become the best advocates, champions, and they drive the change initiative, because no one would ever give it to them. before I was involved, if that makes sense. Because I found out what it is that really annoyed them. One man said he was miserable because 23 years ago, he asked for 3 weeks off to go to Australia and HR stopped his request.
So 23 years of being miserable. Yep.
And I said, so you have stopped your life for 23 years because of a request. I said, you're mad. And he went, well, you're really cheeky. And I went, no, I'm being direct. Because why would you stop your life? Because you didn't get to Australia. Oh no, it's a long story. And I went, it doesn't matter what the story is. You put your life on hold. I said, I just asked you to go away and think about that. And we went for a coffee break and he came back after the coffee break and he went, I'm mad.
So you
and
had
I went,
interrupted.
I could have put it better myself. And that's what happens.
So
does that help, Kaylee?
Hopefully it does. Right. We've got one last question we've got, and it's actually from Anna, and I think it's perfect one. Here you go. Right, Liz, we're tuning into the future now. So Liz, what kinds of things do you see happening in 3 years' time as a result of bringing this book into the world?
Well, so my whole purpose on this planet, it's a big purpose. So my purpose on this earth is to raise global consciousness to create a more loving world. So the whole power of positive connections is to get people remembering why they stopped connecting and making an effort to try it. When I do it in an organisation, so before I've written the book, I've tried this out in an organisation, well, not just 1, 2 or 3, just to see what the effect would be, and go back to it 3 months later, and the people were an awful lot nicer to each other. They developed a lot of compassion. They developed listening. They listened. So to hear, I don't know if to hear still on the call, but to hear, yesterday said to me, you know what makes you different? You actually listen to understand rather than listen to respond. And that's what the power of positive connection does, because you truly listen and you're present. So I would hope it would cure a lot of illnesses for people. But I believe in that. I believe that if you're in a better frame of mind, you won't attract so much. And also you'll be able to deal with things in a lot more positive fashion. But no, I would like to, my legacy would be to spread this out and ripple it out across the planet so that people would start really connecting with each other, because we miss community. I think back to my gran and my great gran and all the stories they used to tell me, and I would love to have a society like that.
Yeah.
Where you could knock on someone's door and they would help you out. You don't have that anymore. You know, and I think I do agree with Lynette, you know, you do need to slow down and remember to make an effort.
Yeah.
And I would say, even if everybody made an effort once a day just to try it, that's all you need. You don't need hundreds and hundreds of, you don't need to do hundreds of this. Have you ever watched the film? So I'm going to give you a film to watch now, Pay It Forward.
Oh, I love it.
If you haven't watched it. You'll cry at the end. But I'm not saying it's a sad bit at the end, but you'll cry. But if you don't cry, come and speak to me. But it's one of these films that when you watch, this little boy comes up with this idea to change the world. And I totally believe in that. It's based on a true story. I like true stories, but I quite like proof. But no, and I would love it to have an impact on the way people slow down a bit, remember some of the things they used to do and start doing them.
And I think that's a perfect way to end tonight. Then it's actually, we've given everybody a little challenge. Just go out and see what you can do over the next, if everybody from here actually went out with that intention. So they have to actually get a copy of the book, of course, available in all good bookstores online. And still from yours, have you got the link up on your website, Liz? Can they get it from you yet, or is that?
I will get the link on it, because that's what I said to Dave. Yep. But if anyone knows Dave, he just takes a wee belt to warm up, but it'll be fine.
Which is positivequalities.co.uk, am I right?
Yes, yeah.
There you are. So you can check out Lizzie's website. And if anybody does have a copy of the book, one of the kind things that you can actually do for any author, I know there's a few on the call tonight as well, so they'll all appreciate this as well. If you buy a book and you enjoy that book, if you actually go on and write a review for them, you can write a review on Amazon even if you don't buy the book on Amazon. So you can actually go and put a review there, because those, again, spread out some ripples of positivity and kindness. So can we say thank you to everybody for joining us this evening?
Thank you.
And thank you. And if you like, you can actually just for one last minute unmute your mics, give Liz a big round of applause to say congratulations and thank you for writing this book, Liz, because we really appreciate it. So and good luck with it all. So thank you, everybody.
Well done.
Well done. Look forward to
Thank
reading
you.
it again.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody.